Today on episode 12 of the Sean and Bo Show. Across the NFL, training camps are in full gear, which means it's getting closer. Only 45 days until the start of the NFL season.
And yes, Sean, even though it's only July, apparently a few SEC fans didn't get the posting at the Loser's Most Wanted Bar and Grill. Alabama strikes first. Roll Tide.
Plus, Bo and I will honor a true legend in the world of sports. It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sean and Bo Show. I'm Sean O'Donnell, along with my co-host, Bo Greer. And Bo, it's the dog days of summer. I went on ESPN just yesterday to look for some stories for us to discuss. And what do I see on the front page of ESPN.com? The fact that ESPN3 has a video game tournament being televised.
Oh, wow.
That's how sad it is. We're craving competition so much that we're tuning into ESPN3 to watch a Dota 2 video game tournament. Sad.
That kind of stuff brings back memories. I don't know if you can remember back to the early days of ESPN, circa late 80s, early 90s, when they were really emerging and the sports were taking off in America. They would have on these competitions, and they would usually be sponsored by Stihl, chainsaws. It could be anything from lumberjacking to seeing how far your dog can jump out in the lake after you threw a bone out there. ESPN used to fill in these slots right now, and it predominantly was on ESPN2, but something I seen that was really funny. You know who one of the co-hosts was at that time? Ryan Seacrest. Ryan Seacrest did a few spots on ESPN2. One of them was like, I swear it was the Boy Scouts of America outdoor games. Like, no joke. Like, I didn't even know that existed, but they had a sponsorship at one time.
Have you ever read that book on ESPN? It's called These Guys Have All the Fun. I'll have to lend it to you if you've never read it. It's super interesting the way that ESPN started because all of these sports weren't being televised. They were buying up these obscure contracts just so that they could have live sporting events on all the time. And it kind of goes through the genesis of ESPN and some of like the first real stars of the network, your Dan Patrick's, your Chris Berman's, all these great behind the scenes stories. I think you'd enjoy reading that.
Nice.
But Bo, we know that we're getting close because training camp is happening all across the NFL. And not too long from now, we're going to have completely meaningless yet highly entertaining preseason to look forward to. But Bo, as a former Division I college football player, what is training camp? I mean, what kind of stuff are you doing? Is it just drills? Is it exercising? Is it run throughs, the playbook? What sort of stuff are players involved with in training camp?
At that time, your body generally, you are conditioned. You're coming off of a spring and summer off season where you started off just maybe taking care of the injuries from last year and doing a little bit of rehab work to really throwing around weight when it got to June and July. Now the players are ready. Their bodies are supposed to be healed up, and they are going full bore. You come in, if you're a returning starter, you're defending off the guys who are coming after your job. If you're a rookie, you're trying to make a name for yourself and get on that top three. In pretty much high school to the NFL, you want to be in the top three. That's like
got to get on the depth chart.
Yeah, that's your roster. The top three, after they get after the third person, they generally don't care. The coaches could care less who you are. So everybody's fighting to get into that top three, to be relevant and to be in the coach's mind. So they will be called on to get a chance in these preseason games. For colleges, it's practice against yourself. It's amazing how in college the only way you pretty much prepare is by hitting each other. And that's kind of a tricky thing because, you'll hear this a lot of times. Teams who are pass heavy, they'll say, oh, they're soft in college. Well, that's because if a team's pass heavy, nobody's pounding the rock in practice, so you're not getting that in July and August in the two-a-days, getting used to getting hit in the mouth. So that's why you'll get a softer defense with a lot of your pass-happy schools. But in the NFL, they do crosstown kind of, I guess you could compare it to that, where like the Ravens will go practice with the Jets, or maybe the Colts will go practice with the Packers or the Titans or something. So they do a little more of an inter-squad scrimmage, so that can get a little more tense. There's a lot of fights right now. The Heat.
Yeah, you always see that, and it's like players on the same team.
Okay, so all summer and all off season, you have a wife or you have a girlfriend. You're with her 24/7. You know what happens. And all of a sudden, you're going to go live with a bunch of dudes. And all of these dudes, pretty much all of them, want your job. That's the way it feels like. So, yes, fights happen. It's boys will be boys. I imagine it happens in the military. I imagine it happens in the Navy. And I'm pretty sure there's some rooms in Wall Street that's had some good scuffles.
Now, your boy, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys and professional Dennis the Menace impersonator, Tony Romo. He's already making headlines because he's doing his "aw shucks" coach routine. During the beginning of training camp, he's coming off an injury. He was trying to get some extra reps. Mm-hmm. So he tried to switch jerseys with Caleb Haney, his backup, so he could just sneak out there and get some more plays in. He's just such a little troublemaker, that Tony Romo.
What are we going to do with him? Golly, if it's not, dating celebrities or helping stranded Texas motorists change their tires on the side of the expressway, that guy there, he's just a headline waiting to happen. My only problem is I just want him to make a headline that's like, hey, Cowboys start off 4-1. That'd be nice. How about we work on that one, Tony?
Yeah, keep dreaming.
Yeah, you keep dreaming too, because you guys apparently, according to Vegas, have the same odds as us to get to the Super Bowl. So good luck.
Yeah, they got to make those odds that people will bet on them and attract the suckers, Bo. That's the whole name of the game.
Those guys know more about football than half of the people in the rooms coaching. I swear. If coaches could get with the guys in the Bellagio and just pay attention to the numbers, they know what plays to call the next day. But everybody's got egos, and you always think you can outcoach the next guy.
Now, speaking of jerseys, NFL.com has revealed the top selling jerseys through beginning April and up through I think the beginning of the weekend.
Okay.
So I got the top 10 here. Who would you think? Who do you think would be the top seller? Maybe a guy who just won the Super Bowl, Russell Wilson, or a perennially popular quarterback, maybe Drew Brees.
Yeah, see, right now I would think that guys who are coming up that have already kind of done something, like an Andrew Luck would be selling a jersey, a Colin Kaepernick, E.J. Manuel, because they're kind of proven. They can win games. They can throw for a lot of yards. So now you know that the team, your franchise, may keep them around. So I could see buying that jersey for a little loyalty for a guy like that.
No, incorrect, Bo. You actually don't have to accomplish a single thing in the NFL to sell truckloads of jerseys. Top seller is Jonathan Football. Johnny Manziel, the Browns, top seller. Now,
do you think that has something to do with Texas, though? Do you think there's a lot of Manziel Browns jerseys walking around West Texas College campus right now?
Yeah, you know what I think it is? I think it's the youth.
Yeah.
I think he's capturing that popularity of teenagers, and the whole swag YOLO generation is really buying into the character.
Get ready. Texas A&M premieres their first college football game, I believe, in an ESPN, ABC joint deal. I bet we'll see all kinds of Manziel jerseys in those stands. Those people are going to wear those Manziel jerseys proud, because that's what's going to be interesting about him. When's the last time you had the guy that's all swagalicious and kind of lives life on the edge with a bunch of Texans behind him? Because Texans don't like you to talk about their own. So that'll be interesting, like the national radio guys that'll try and bash Manziel. They'll probably crash their servers that day because half of Texas will be, get off our boy.
I'm looking forward to the Browns doing well, maybe even winning a Super Bowl, so that we get a Super Bowl Shuffle Part 2, because I could totally picture that. You have LeBron come in for a little cameo,
gosh. Drake, Manziel. They'll probably reincarnate somebody. Michael Jackson will moonwalk across the background. He won't even be
Tupac hologram in the background. He's alive.
I swear I saw him. He was in Cleveland.
Rounding out the top 10 of the jersey sales, number 2, not a surprise, Seahawks Russell Wilson.
Okay.
The guy deserves some props. He just absolutely smacked up the Broncos in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You would expect fans to want his jersey. Number 3, Colin Kaepernick. Again, not that big of a surprise. 49ers set to do real well this year. They had had a fine finish last season, even though it was a big disappointment for their fans losing to the Seahawks. That was kind of the real Super Bowl, as a lot of people consider it to be. So again, not a surprise. Number 4, Peyton Manning. Now, if you're a Peyton Manning fan, don't you already have a Peyton Manning jersey? Why is he still selling so many jerseys, especially after that debacle in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I would expect him to be like 10, maybe.
And then also, is it an unfair, because you know how that works. The popular guys in any city, I don't care if we're near Pittsburgh, Denver, or LA, they're in the Walmarts. Like, are they counting those jersey sales as opposed to the official jersey sales online on NFL.com? Because if you are counting all of those, I mean, they sell toddler size Peyton Manning jerseys.
I think this was just from NFL.com.
Okay,
so these are people that have actually went online and ordered a specific jersey.
Because if they did the whole kit and caboodle, living out here, go into a Walmart in the Rocky Mountains, whose jerseys do you see? Peyton Manning, Tony Romo. If you could count the Walmart jersey sales, I bet Manziel's not even close.
At number 5, you have Richard Keep My Name Out Your Mouth Sherman. Number 6, this is the one that shocked me. Number 6 of all NFL jerseys, Michael Sam.
Wow.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect.
I already knew it. I knew it. Just so people know, I have a brother and a cousin who are homosexual males. And I think this is going to be great because I'm betting when I get home around the holidays, I'm going to see somebody wearing a Michael Sam jersey. It's going to be a fashion statement. Watch. I bet people are getting behind him out of that community, and they're going to represent those jerseys. Look what jerseys have done going all the way back to Ice Cube. Ice Cube had people so afraid to walk around in L.A. wearing a jersey from another town because if you didn't have on the Rams Express jersey or the L.A. Raiders jersey, you could be shot. Like, jersey sales are
still
serious.
A valid concern. Bo.
Yeah, still a valid concern. Like, yeah, what did they do to that poor guy at the Niners-Raiders game with his family? They beat him up in front of his kids. He's like a firefighter or something. Remember that? It was like 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it still happens. So, I'm not surprised that Michael Sam, he's going to have his own little legion of followers. You go to a Rams game or something, Tony Dungy, don't be talking trash about him. You have people protesting in front of your house.
We're going to get to that next, as a matter of fact. But, if anything, I would assume that would help him make the roster. I think he's definitely going to play if he's already shown and proved that he can be that marketable,
yes.
Which is, apart from the X's and O's on the field, a major concern of NFL teams. They want... they want to make that money.
Yeah.
They want to sell that merchandise. So that could help him.
Bobbleheads.
Rounding up the last few spots, 7, Tom Brady, 8, Drew Brees, 9, Aaron Rodgers. No surprise at all. Any of those. Those
Packers.
They're always there in the top. And interestingly enough, the 10th most popular jersey on NFL.com, not even an NFL player. No, it's the 12th man of the Seahawks, that jersey. It's number 10, very popular up there in Seattle.
Bad. I love that kind of stuff, man. It shows that football is just a unique sport when it comes to fans being able to participate.
Now, you just alluded to it, Bo. Tony Dungy has gotten himself into some hot water over some comments he made about Michael Sam. He says that, quote, he wouldn't have taken Sam because, quote, things will happen. He went on to elaborate. He was saying, quote, I wouldn't have taken him, not because I don't believe Michael Sam should have a chance to play, but I wouldn't want to deal with all of it. It's not going to be totally smooth. Things will happen, said Dungy. And okay, here's my feeling on that.
No.
He's probably right.
Yeah.
Probably won't be
okay.
completely smooth, but let's look at Tony Dungy's track record.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who was Michael Vick's biggest advocate when he came out of prison.
Exactly.
Distraction. And was one of good old Tim Tebow's biggest advocates. Probably the biggest distraction in maybe the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
So for this guy who, according to this article, literally wrote the foreword for a book on equal opportunity coaching in the NFL, you're not really living up to that responsibility and reputation there, Tony Dungy,
Yeah, what's that old saying my grandma used to say? You don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Mr. Dungy, you could join the whole list of people like Richard Petty a few months ago when they got him to comment on Danica Patrick. Okay, maybe you don't believe Danica Patrick has a place out there, or that because she's a female, the sponsors got behind her and she catapulted over some other very good and talented drivers. But that's something you keep to yourself. There's things you say to your friends, there's things you say in your private circle, and then there's pillow talk with your wife. Pillow talk with your wife, it's always the most conservative anybody is. Your circle of friends, you kind of water it down because you don't want to seem too much like a jerk. But when you're out in public and there's reporters around and you carry the weight as being a Super Bowl coach, NBC host, you just don't say these things. Like I said last time we talked about that, you never know where that young man or young woman is who is dealing with this, who sees that article and says, well, maybe I shouldn't come out, or maybe I shouldn't do this.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I mean,
you shouldn't say it.
Maybe it's not going to be the most smooth transition. Maybe there's going to be some bumps in the road, but I think it's worth it personally, just from a social perspective of, having an openly gay NFL athlete and what that'll do for young people, in particularly those young people that are getting picked on, bullied, struggling with their sexuality, contemplating suicide. There's a much bigger issue.
But what Dungy has to remember, and a lot of African Americans need to remember this as we move through this new century with the ability to do the things that we are doing, from CEOs to presidents to head football coach. Do you know Texas A&M and the University of Texas both have African American head coaches? That's a big deal. But we can't get to that stage and get on TV and get on that podium and then turn around and start doing the same things that used to aggravate our grandparents. What is Michael Sam doing to you, Tony? That's the same as sitting around and talking about, well, I wouldn't have drafted Drew Brees, or because quite frankly, there was a whole lot of teams that didn't think they should have drafted Drew Brees, and they're all turning around and rethinking that one. So
let's call it what it is, though.
Why do you need to talk about it?
Tony Dungy, I'll tell you why, because he's super Christian.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where I was going next with this.
Let's call a spade a spade.
That's where I was going.
We don't know. We all think Tony Dungy's a nice guy because we watch him on Football Night in America, and just seems like a sweet old retired coach. But it's not like we hear the guy on Fox News talking about his political views and what he thinks of homosexuals. So it's like he could have some real.
Am I the only person that remembers his child swallowing a bunch of pills? Am I the only person that remembers that? I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. I had a few friends that have committed suicide. Home life was never the greatest thing. So we can go ahead and everybody can get up on their pedestals and, what is that? He who lives in the glass house shouldn't be throwing stones and all that mess. That's what he's doing. You've had a family, Tony. You lost a child. Maybe he was dealing with something. I hate it.
I don't think I've ever heard about that.
What, you don't remember that?
No, I mean, I remember Andy Reid's kid, but I don't remember Tony Dungy having.
Tony Dungy's son, when he, I think, went to Indianapolis to take that job, committed suicide.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think it's amazing that knowing how big of a deal this is, you see the people who talk about it, the bullying in the schools and the suicides that go on because of this, he would feel that it's a good idea for him to talk about that in his position. But you brought it up. It's the religious angle 9 times out of 10 with people like that.
All right, I'll lighten it up here. This is something that I always love seeing. Rather than just having, a giant linebacker clobber some drunken idiot fan in a bar, that's a one-sided fight. I like seeing it more fair, and okay. we saw that over the weekend in South Beach. This featured a fight that involved a pair of professional athletes of different sports.
It's amazing.
Could be a UFC division coming up. You had Joe Lon Dunbar, who's a Rams. Is he a linebacker?
I don't know. Dunbar.
Yeah, I want to say he's an outside linebacker. And Dante Green, who's an NBA free agent who played for the Kings in 2012.
Okay.
Well, as the old saying goes, nothing good happens after 1 a.m. And this went quite a few hours after that because the fight occurred at like 5 a.m. outside of that's right, you guessed it, strip club.
Oh, man. I thought for sure they would have been somewhere at like a pep rally or to raise money for the Spotted Owls of South Florida or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this. This is from a security guard who's describing exactly what happened. Said, quote, Dunbar started coming out of the doorway of Dream, the strip club, looking for somebody. All of a sudden he started screaming. When they got in front of the sushi place is when all hell broke loose. He said, this is the greatest part. They just started fist fighting, swinging. And that's when the police officers took out their tasers.
Oh.
So they both got arrested. I'm not sure who had the upper hand in the fight, but both got charged. Assault, battery, and disorderly conduct. So there you go. That's the kind of
This is why you can't give 21, 23-year-olds money. That's what they do with it. It doesn't matter if it's Yasiel Puig, Justin Bieber, Hannah Montana. They're all going to get a bunch of money, go crazy, and be fighting for the paparazzi to film it, man. I'm just glad that the security guard was there to give the play-by-play.
Oh, yeah.
As without that, the story's dead.
I wish there was a video. Maybe there's surveillance.
Come on.
Footage.
In 2015 Miami, you think people would have cameras like attached to their heads or something with all the celebrities walking around South Beach doing crazy stuff.
Now, this is a story I think you were following, Bo. Chris Kluwe was threatening a lawsuit, correct? And the Vikings were doing some sort of internal investigation. And now that has concluded. The investigation is over, and they're not releasing any of it, right?
Do you understand it? Like, I've been listening to all these sides. They had an NFL PA guy in or whatever, and I really don't get it because it's almost like, was he going to get cut? Or he did get cut, and then he brought this to light?
Yeah, he got cut.
And then when it was all brought to light, the Vikings were going to do something about it, but he decided that he was just going to run wild online.
Well, as I understand it, one of the issues was that in one of the conversations leading up to him being cut, one of the executives of the Vikings said something incredibly distasteful about what he thought of gays, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's a big part of it.
He's always spoke out.
Yeah, he's an advocate for that entire community.
Mm-hmm.
What the rumor that I had heard was that the reason they weren't releasing this internal investigation report is because it just made them look terrible. And in a world of Donald Sterling stories, you really, if you're an executive of a pro team, you definitely have to watch what we know that now. You have to watch what you say, even behind closed doors, because they might go ahead and take your team.
Everybody out there that's over 60 years old, you have to understand when you're around us 30 and 40 somethings, we all went to school together. Like, my brother works in a very important position in D.C. He was of the age of the Run DMC and the high top fades and hip hop music. And, like, I remember it was such a big deal in the 80s because my brother had a girlfriend of a different race. Like, now that's so commonplace, you don't even think about it. You got to remember that. And I just think that there's such a disconnect between the generations to where there's all these good old boys still. And they're like, we can say this behind closed doors because we're all the same team. But then there's our generation where it's like, nah, man, you can't say that behind closed doors. That's not right. And it's like this explosion that's waiting to happen from the highest levels of government to our sports teams to TV. You're just waiting for it to happen everywhere.
My favorite Chris Kluwe memory, I can't remember which show it was. Might have been Oprah, might have been Ellen, something like that. They're in like the middle of Chicago or New York, and they had like a goal set up, like far away, and Chris Kluwe does this sick drop kick and just kicks the ball like it was one of the experiences, Bo. I mean, I know you've seen it up close and personal, where you realize what freak athletes these punters and kickers really are. Yeah. Like, they actually do have this weird skill that you just don't see. And, interesting what's going to happen with Kluwe. Maybe there's going to be a lawsuit. I don't think we're going to see him in the NFL. I mean, he was kind of getting old.
Yeah.
His numbers didn't match up, but.
Well, I imagine that moving forward, the purple stripe on the LGBT flag is going to be sponsored by the Vikings because you know how these things shake out. Chris Kluwe is not the type of guy where he's going to position himself to reap the rewards.
I think he actually said that. I think that he said that he would donate. If he wins a lawsuit, he'll donate whatever money he gets.
Exactly. This will be a big bump to the LGBT community. And if you don't think Roger Goodell's private jet isn't docked somewhere in a disclosed location around that practice facility, you're tripping, people. You know how these businesses work. Goodell is probably like with a red face, like talking like this with his teeth. He's like, what are you doing? Did you not watch Donald Sterling this summer? Like, he's like, I can only imagine. It's like probably corralling teenage boys, a bunch of teenage boys who inherited money or inherited a bunch of pro teams. They make billions. They went to Harvard and they've always driven Porsches and Ferraris. And Goodell's like, come on, man. He's like, not to steal Chris Carter's thunder, but come on, man. What do you do with these guys?
Now, Bo, as you know, the 49ers have a brand new shiny stadium. They're looking forward to playing in. By all accounts, it's a work of art. It's brand
beautiful.
spanking new.
Like
It's a beautiful place. And they're even doing like these cool color schemes throughout the stadium, all red and gold. They have the 49er logo laser etched into the stadium seats. Well, what could go wrong? The Raiders. That's what could go wrong. Goodell is now coming up with the idea that, hey, since the Raiders can't get a stadium built in LA, maybe you guys could, share the stadium, maybe. Now
bring them to Albuquerque.
No, but we don't need any more violence in town. Though. We already have plenty of it. We don't need the Raiders here. But seriously, I mean, the reason why the Giants and the Jets are able to share a stadium is because there isn't a stabbing during every single game. I mean, this is going to be bad.
They were trying to build this stadium to get to the wine and cheese crowd of San Francisco. It's near the boardwalk and everything like that, right? Yeah. That's what their whole idea was, family outing at the ballpark to see a football game. Well, you bring the Raiders fans into that? It's like, I don't know. You ever seen those documentaries about the gypsy clans, about how they're protected in like Ireland and Scotland and England?
Yeah.
Well, one of the gypsy clan's favorite things to do, besides fighting and drinking, is to go park their houses or their little campers
Caravans.
next to caravans.
Do you like Degs?
Yes. Oh, great. Go park their caravans next to $1 million homes. And like it's an epidemic in Europe, but because these people are protected kind of like Native Americans in America, no politician or their equivalent is going to change the ruling that you can do that. So like I think of that, like there's a big documentary out there. I always forget the name of it when I need to reference it, but it shows how these families, how honorable the fights are and how they destroy these communities.
Snatch. Yeah. Very
Snatch is a great movie.
Good documentary.
There is a documentary out there. I actually heard about it on the Joe Rogan podcast. But no, that's what it'll be like. It's worth, let's say the stadium's worth $3 billion right now. After the Raiders play in it 1 year, it'll be worth $500 million.
And it sounds, it's kind of like a hack joke, like, oh, Raider fans, don't punch me in the face, Raider fan. But the reason why that exists is because they are a violent fan base. Those people in the black hole with their Kiss wannabe makeup on and spikes on their shoulder pads. Those people fight at games. They really, really do. I don't have this stat in front of me, but I'm going to go ahead and say that the Raiders over the last 10 years have probably had the most violent crimes happen inside of and outside of the stadium on game day.
FBI. The FBI wanted to get in there. That's no joke. The FBI wanted to get in there just a few years ago, but, it wasn't going to happen. It's funny, though. We're sitting here talking about the NFL and this new stadium out here and how things are changing and growing. There's one thing that hasn't been forgotten up there in Lambeau Field, and that's the Green Bay Packer fans and the fact that Brett Favre went over to Minnesota and kind of crapped on them for a little bit. So
I'll remember that summer as the official time where ESPN jumped the shark.
Yes.
It was so damn annoying. I couldn't even watch SportsCenter.
You remember the helicopters flying around his farm down there in Mississippi?
God.
Oh, gosh. But, yeah, so right now, enough time has passed, and the GM and the owner of the Green Bay Packers think it's time to start honoring Favre, baby. The little homage is time to be paid to the Favre man. So they're going to bring him out, and Favre says this: I'm not afraid of getting booed. I'm not worried about it. I'm not thinking about it.
Well, it's good that he's not afraid because it's probably going to happen.
It's going to happen. So I'm thinking, like, should somebody get, like, Dan Patrick, maybe he has enough pull. Will he be able to get him to get one of those decibel things down on the field? Because if Favre does get booed, I want to see if it registers like a jet airplane taking off. Like, I want to know the fury of these Green Bay Packer fans. Because if you remember, it wasn't a pretty ending. And then when he went to the Packers, it was almost like, I don't know, it's just the biggest slap in the face you could ever have. I'm not even a fan of that team. I'm a fan of the Cowboys if you listen to the show. But I am a fan of football, so I'm a fan of the NFC North. That is a great division. That's an old division. Old rivalries. They give us our Thanksgiving Day games, and they give us some of the greatest memories in pro football. And to see the longtime quarterback of the Packers end up on the Vikings, that's the kind of stuff that just lets you know you live in the new era.
That's right, man. It's all about the money. But, I don't have a problem with it, with the Packers bringing him back, because, I mean, when you think about the Packers, particularly, when as we were coming up, you inexorably think Brett Favre. I mean, you can't separate the two. He's part of the history of that team. So, it's a little bit obvious that yeah, they would probably bring him back. I predict the fans are going to boo him at first and then give him his props.
Yeah, it'll be funny. They'll do something, but I think it'd be awesome.
Throw a bunch of Levi's jeans
at him.
Instead
of confetti, they should go find all the ash from all the burned jerseys, and they should just shoot that out there on the field, Hey, did you hear about my man, Chris Snee, offensive guard, O-lineman from the New York Giants, retiring 10 seasons?
I don't follow offensive lineman careers quite as closely as you do, Bo, but I understand why you do.
Yeah,
so.
I'm going to put that out there. This dude right there, 2 Super Bowls, 4 Pro Bowls, and 10 seasons as a guard. Not, and I'm going to put this out there because I respect offensive linemen. I played O-line. I was a guard for Division I. It's hard. You bang. You're the guy that sets what's going on. If there's a run play, and I don't care if it's going to the other side of the offensive line or if it's coming right up your tailpipe, you are the one responsible for either cutting off the backside penetration or creating the movement at the point of attack. Point of attack is where the ball is going on football, if you don't know that. He did that for 10 years in an organization that runs the football. Think of the running backs that this guy's blocked for. Just to mention a few, Brandon Jacobs, Mr. Barber. These guys were running backs. They weren't catch it out of the backfield, go in motion, run a pass, a pass route. These were in between the tackles, get 5 yards in a cloud of dust for Tom Coughlin, let Eli Manning throw a play action pass. We're going to score touchdowns and win the NFC East and win a couple Super Bowls. So hats off to Chris Snee. I think it's also real cool because he is married to Tom Coughlin's daughter. He went to Boston College, and I think that kind of stuff's really cool to be the guy kind of hooking up with the coach's daughter. Even though he is a grown man, there still has to be a part of the boyhood child like, hey, that's the coach's daughter. It's funny.
All right, Bo. Coming up on the program, the SEC fans have made a point to make the name of this bar, live up to itself. The Losers. What is it? The Losers
Most
Wanted Saloon or something?
No, yeah. They figured out a way to get bar and grill in there to class it up a little bit.
Yeah. So that name's awfully appropriate. We'll explain why. Also, Bo and I will tip our hat and honor a true innovator in the world of sports broadcasting and everything we stand for as Americans. It's coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Hey, folks, thank you very much for listening to the Sean and Bo Show. We need your help. We need more listeners, and the way you can help us with that is by telling a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, somebody, anybody. Subscribe on iTunes. Check out previous episodes at seanandboshow.podomatic.com. And if you have any questions, maybe what it was like playing Division I college football for Bo, anything about the show at all, from the gear we use to the topics to what you'd like to hear more of or less of, don't be shy. Shoot us an email. The address, seanandboshow@gmail.com. That's seanandboshow@gmail.com. Back to the show.
Welcome back to the Sean and Bo Show. I want to thank all you loyal listeners out there for definitely staying tuned to the show and referring us to a friend. I know you're out there telling people about the show, and Sean and I definitely appreciate it. Now, Sean, I know we're going to follow up on a previous story. What was that about you were talking earlier?
Oh, you'll remember this one, Bo, a story near and dear to both of our hearts. the crawfish and crab leg debacle of Mr. Jameis Winston. Now you all remember that Jameis Winston stole $32 worth of crab legs and crawfish from a local grocery store. Could have been a Piggly Wiggly, I don't know. And he got suspended from the baseball team. He's a two-sport athlete. He's a pitcher, so it was a big deal. Got suspended from the baseball team and slapped on the wrist, had to repay the store, do some community service. And we were wondering, what's this going to mean for the Heisman winners football standing in the upcoming season? Well, apparently, Bo, it means absolutely nothing. No punishment at all. None. Jimbo Fisher, the coach, says that he's already been punished once, so then they're not going to punish him again.
College football punishment is just like the courts. Once one coach gets you in one sport, or let's say it's an academic infraction, once they punish you there, if they do it again, kids could sue with their parents.
Now, this is the part of it that cracked me up. Whether I agree or I disagree with him not getting like a couple game suspension, not the issue, but listen to this quote. Quote, he was explaining why he wasn't going to be punished. Quote, not after he found out the story and what had happened and what he did was not a malicious thing. It was not done with intent. What in the hell does that mean? And Bo, can you explain to me how I would go about stealing crab legs maliciously?
Yeah, I know. So I guess he had to take a gun in there to see football suspension. So by just running out of the front door, he's okay. And, this is one of those things where I just hope the young kids out there that follow Mr. Winston, follow ACC football, college football, and all these various universities that are basically bigger than life in these regions, they can see through this kind of stuff and understand that they have parents, hopefully, that can talk to them. Jameis Winston is still a kid himself. If you're still out there trying to snatch and grab at your local grocery store or 7-Eleven, you're just a big child. What did they do? What was that movie, Scary Movie or whatever, where they do that? One of the characters, the Wayans brothers characters, they'd all go into the grocery store and they'd say, run, and everybody grabbed chip bags and whatever they could and run out the door. So Jameis Winston, after winning a Heisman and a national championship, is pulling the equivalent of something you would see in a B-movie comedy on Netflix. Grow up, Jameis.
This is the part of it that I disagree with, Bo. The part that said, quote, it was not done with intent. This is what I want to know. Did the police check him for Old Bay seasoning? Because I think it was done with intent, the intent to have a crab boil.
Well, he wasn't going to eat them. He was going to tie them together and make a necklace. That's probably what he was going to do. He was going to make I don't know. What the heck can you do with a crab leg? It's just the pool of Florida State. You can't forget one of the biggest schools in Florida for law is Florida State. I want to say the famed guy who passed away that represented OJ made like $100 million donation down there when he died, or his family did with his trust. Johnny Cochran. Florida State is known for its lawyers, and they probably tread lightly in these situations because with the alumni base that they have, there's probably a lot of guys willing to call Jameis up and be like, they wronged you, buddy.
Hey, man, if the crab leg don't fit.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't know what kind of food they serve over at the Losers Most Wanted Bar and Grill, Bo, but I think that they're living up to their name.
Well, the Losers Bar and Grill, apparently, according to SB Nation, it's known as a postgraduate midtown crap show in a cluster of bars for SEC grads that they basically live in. It's
I can see why they named it Losers.
Yeah, it seemed to be one of these places you're not allowed to go to. You're not supposed to go to until after 12 a.m. because you don't want to see the day crowd. Probably some of your diehard SEC fans, all from the school of thought of you don't have to attend the university to tattoo it on your forehead and name your babies after the head coach. You know how many Bear Bryants are probably walking around that bar?
Stupid hats.
Zach Mettenberger, as we alluded to earlier, we were kind of talking about the Alabama fans are trying to score an early one. Zach Mettenberger is a recent draft pick of the Tennessee Titans. He's hanging out in Nashville, probably just trying to get his drink on, relax before training camps tip off and get in a full swing. And somebody comes up to him, and it's one of those deals where his back was turned. This guy, Jim Wyatt of Tennessee, he provides us with all these details explaining that Mettenberger's back was turned. He gets a tap on the shoulder. Somebody says something to him along the lines of, it was just roll tide. And then Mettenberger responds with good luck with that. Before he could do anything, the second guy with the guy who says roll tide tags him across the jaw, drops him to the floor, Sean. They said it's kind of like a sack of potatoes, but, it's a sucker punch. So you're thinking, okay, NFL player, big guy, he's going to get up and wreck these guys. Nope. Before Zach could pull himself up off the ground, both of the gentlemen had ran through the front door and were already being tackled by the security guards.
Brave.
Yeah, real brave. Says a lot about the Alabama fans. I wonder if it was the guy who called in after the loss and was it the SEC title game a few years ago, and he threatened Nick Saban on ESPN radio. It's probably one of those guys, because if you think it's a good idea to punch an NFL quarterback in a visible place where he plays and you're going to get away with it, you're crazy, man. So those guys right there, definitely the two biggest losers of the week. And it wasn't even a football player. That's the funny thing about it. How many times do we give these guys such a hard time about not acting like adults, and a couple of Alabama fans sneak a sucker punch on a guy who is not even technically playing in the SEC anymore? He thought he had escaped the SEC, and it followed him up to Nashville and punched him in the face.
I'm impressed with the fact that he's not even pressing charges.
Yeah, he decided not to press charges, but it's one of those things where the SEC is so powerful, it would have probably looked bad. Probably would have blew back on him, and looked like he didn't care about the SEC anymore.
And finally, Bo, do you remember those old Budweiser commercials, the Real American Hero?
Oh, yeah, I'll never forget. Those are hilarious.
Well, I've got one for us. I've got a Real American Hero, Bo. There are certain combinations in sports that they're just classic, timeless. Buffalo wings and blue cheese.
Yeah.
Stadium parking lots and grilling.
Okay.
Well, this American hero once said in describing his career, quote, "I was the best television director that ever lived." Very modest. From Slate magazine comes this report of Mr. Andy Sedaris, a legend, my friends. What did he do exactly? Well, according to his LA Times obituary, he directed the first episode of ABC's long-running Wide World of Sports.
Wow.
Nice. Helmed the network's Olympic coverage for 24 years, and most germane to this topic, helped develop techniques that are standard today, including instant replay, slow motion replay, and split screen views. But the reason, Bo, that we're honoring Mr. Andy Sedaris is none of those things. He invented the honey shot.
Wow.
Now, what is a honey shot, you might be asking yourself? Well, if you saw any of the World Cup coverage, you saw what a honey shot is. And that is when the camera pans to the most beautiful woman in the stands and just kind of zooms in.
Oh, yeah.
Keeps it right there in the center for a few seconds before going on to another.
Why we watch.
And he actually invented the practice of doing this. So not only was he a visionary in that regard, but he was also incredibly entertaining to listen to while he was directing games. He really let his philosophy of showing the beautiful women, he wasn't shy about it, should I say. So here's a clip from a documentary that was made about the man. This is from one of his broadcasts, Bo. Check this out.
Yeah. Now, Mike, which end zone are you able to break into? Okay, opposite Evan and the Chancellor. We didn't show the Chancellor last time, and we're not showing him this time, Mike. We're gonna show girls. No more of those. We've got to show some girls, and occasionally we'll get a football play in there if we're lucky.
Classic man.
Oh, I love it. But he is an American hero. He is that is showtime right there,
That's
baby.
Right. That's right.
Golly, there's guys out there that are true pioneers, and they were just blessed with the perfect timing and the vision to see these things coming, knowing that young men and old men alike will always love a honey shot. He incorporated it into our everyday lives, and I just want a round of applause for that, Mr. What was the name again?
Andy Sedaris.
Andy Sedaris. That guy is a real original gangster.
Quote, once you've seen one huddle, you've seen them all. So you either look at the popcorn, the guys, or the ladies. The choice is clear to me. Words to live by, Bo.
Nothing else needs to be said.
And that wasn't his only accomplishment. He also sort of invented being Charles Barkley before Charles Barkley. He loved to talk about regional differences in the appearance of women, which we know Sir Charles knows a little something about.
Recently,
the
yes.
big old women of San Antonio. Quote, the girls in Buffalo look like plant foremen. Those in Wisconsin, quote, get their hairdo hints from Field and Stream magazine. And there's likely, quote, a shortage of hairbrushes at Stanford.
Wow.
At Alabama, by contrast, only your real football fan takes his eyes off the cheerleaders. And he also gave a geography tip. The normal cutoff line for beautiful California girls is Bakersfield. And again, there's a documentary about him. It's on YouTube if you'd like to check it out. It's called Seconds to Play. So
nice.
He will be missed, and his contributions to the broadcasting and the sports world will be forever remembered, Bo.
Oh, yeah. Nobody will forget a honey shot.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Sean and Bo Show. We will be back next Monday. So until then, I'm Sean O'Donnell, along with my co-host Bo Greer, telling you, tip your pizza man.
We'll see you next week.